My name is Lieutenant Marcus Cole, United States Air Force, service number 49233 Alpha. If you are listening to this, if this signal is actually leaving this concrete box, then I have a question for you. What year is it? Don't answer. Let me guess. Is it 2000? Is it 2025? Is it the year 3000? It doesn't matter. Because for us, for the crew of Bunker 42, it is still December 31st, 1999. It has been December 31st for what feels like a lifetime. We came down here to protect the systems, to ensure that the Y2K bug didn't wipe out the national defense grid. We were prepared for everything. We were prepared for nuclear missiles launching themselves. We were prepared for the power grid to fail. We were prepared for planes to fall out of the sky. We were not prepared for the sky itself to disappear. I am looking at my watch right now. It is a Casio digital watch. It stopped working a long time ago, but the clock on the wall, the big analog clock in the mess hall, it is still ticking. Tick, tock, tick, tock. But the hands don't move. They have been stuck at 11:59 p.m. for, God, I don't even know how long. 10 years? 20? We don't age here. Not physically. My hair is still the same length. I don't need to shave. We don't get hungry. We don't get thirsty. But we remember. Our minds are rotting. We are trapped in the last minute of the last century. And we are not alone in here anymore. Things have started to change. The shadows in the corridors are getting longer. The static on the radio is starting to sound like voices. And Commander Miller, he has started to scream in his sleep. I am recording this message on the emergency broadcast frequency. If anyone is out there, if the world still exists, please, do not come looking for us. Do not open the door. We are not the same men who went down here. We are something else now. We are the children of the endless night. This is the log of Bunker 42. This is the story of the day the future never came. Happy New Year. Let's go back to the beginning. Before the madness. Before the silence. It was December 31st, 1999. The end of the millennium. The whole world was holding its breath. People were buying canned food, water, and batteries. They were scared that their computers would crash when the clock struck midnight. They called it the millennium bug. Y2K. To us, it was a joke, but a serious joke. I was assigned to Bunker 42, a classified facility buried 300 feet beneath the Nevada desert. Our mission was simple: monitor the secure communications channels, ensure continuity of government in case the computer networks went down. There were 5 of us. Commander Miller, a veteran of the Gulf War, hard as nails, by the book. He didn't believe in the Y2K bug, but he believed in orders. Sarah Jenkins, our systems specialist. She was the smartest person in the room. She had brought a bottle of cheap champagne hidden in her rucksack. She said we would pop it at midnight if the world didn't end. Dr. Aris Thorne, the psychologist. That should have been my first warning. Why did a communications monitoring mission need a psychologist? At the time, I didn't ask. Sergeant Graves, security, a big man who didn't talk much. He spent most of his time cleaning his weapon. And me, Marcus Cole, comms. We descended into the bunker at 1800 hours, 6 p.m. The sun was setting over the desert. The sky was a beautiful, burning orange. I remember looking at it. I remember thinking about the party I was missing back on base. I didn't know it would be the last time I ever saw the sun. We took the freight elevator down. It was a long ride. The air got cooler. The smell changed. It smelled of recycled air, ozone, and concrete. When we reached the bottom, the blast doors were waiting. 3 feet of solid steel and lead, designed to withstand a direct nuclear hit. Commander Miller punched in the code. Beep, 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 buzz. The hydraulics hissed. The massive gears turned. The door swung open slowly. We stepped inside. The bunker was high-tech for 1999. Walls lined with server racks. Banks of green CRT monitors glowing in the dim light. The hum of the cooling fans was constant, a white noise that filled your ears. "All right, people," Miller barked. "Lock it down. I want all systems green. We have 6 hours until the ball drops." Graves spun the wheel on the blast door. Clang. It sealed shut. The sound echoed through the facility like a gunshot. We settled in. The mood was light. We were making bets. Sarah bet $20 that the power grid in New York would fail. I bet $50 that nothing would happen at all. I wish I had lost that bet. The hours ticked by. 19 o'clock. 20, 21. We watched the news feeds on the monitors. Celebrations in London. Fireworks in Paris. The world was partying. They were celebrating their survival. At 23, things got quiet. The tension in the room started to rise. We were 1 hour away from the deadline. "Check the external cameras," Miller ordered. I pulled up the feed. The monitors showed the desert surface. Pitch black night. Just the stars and the wind blowing the sand. "External feed clear," I reported. "Perimeter secure." 23:30. Sarah started checking the servers. "Data flow is normal," she said. "No glitches. The patch is holding." 23:50. 10 minutes to midnight. Dr. Thorne was sitting in the corner, writing in his notebook. He looked calm. Too calm. He was watching us, not the screens. 23:55. 5 minutes. Sarah pulled out the champagne bottle, plastic cups. "Get ready, boys," she smiled. "See you on the other side." 23:58. 2 minutes. Commander Miller stood up. He buttoned his uniform jacket. "Standard protocol," he said. "At 0 hour, we perform a full system diagnostic. If the lights go out, switch to emergency generators immediately." 23:59. 1 minute. We all looked at the main digital clock on the wall. The red numbers were counting down the seconds of the 20th century. 23:59. 10. 23:59. 20. 23:59. 30. My heart was pounding. It was silly. It was just a number flipping. But there was a heaviness in the air. A static electricity that made the hair on my arms stand up. 23:59. 45. 23:59. 50. 10, Sarah counted. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. I looked at the external camera monitor one last time. The desert. The stars. 4, 3, 2, 1. The clock clicked. It should have said 00 back. It should have said January 1st, 2000. But it didn't. The numbers flickered. They scrambled, like a code breaking. And then the lights went out. Not just the room lights, the monitors, the servers, the emergency LEDs. Everything went absolute, pitch black. And the sound, the hum of the fans, it stopped. Total silence. A silence so deep it felt like we had gone deaf. "Happy New Year," Sarah whispered in the dark, but nobody cheered. Darkness. That is the only way to describe it. It wasn't just the absence of light. It felt heavy, like a physical weight pressing against my eyes. "Report!" Commander Miller's voice cut through the black. He sounded calm, but I could hear the edge in his tone. "Power failure," Sarah replied. I could hear her fumbling in the dark. "Main generator is down. Backups are not engaging." "Graves, get the flashlights," Miller ordered. A moment later, a beam of light cut through the room. Then another. The stark white beams of the maglights swept across the bunker. Dust motes danced in the light. We looked at each other. We were all pale. "Is it the bug?" I asked. "Did the Y2K bug kill the power grid?" "It shouldn't affect the batteries," Sarah said, moving towards the breaker panel. "This system is analog backup. It's hardwired. It's impossible for it to fail like this." She flipped the breakers. Nothing. She hit the emergency start button for the diesel generator. Nothing. No crank, no spark, just dead silence. "It's dead," Sarah said. Her voice trembled slightly. "Everything is dead, even the battery-operated clocks." I looked at my wrist. My Casio was blank. The screen was gray. I looked at the wall clock. The red LEDs were gone. "Okay," Miller said. "We have a total systems failure. We train for this. Cole, try the radio. Use the hand crank emergency transponder. We need to contact Edwards Air Force Base." "Yes, sir," I said. I moved to the comms desk. The high-tech digital racks were useless bricks now. I pulled out the old, dusty field radio from under the desk. It had a manual crank on the side to generate power. I started to turn the crank. Whir, whir, whir. It was hard work. The little light on the radio flickered to life. Analog power. I put on the headset. This is Bunker 42 calling Edwards. Over. Silence. This is Bunker 42. We have experienced total power loss. Requesting status update. Over. Static. But it wasn't normal static. Usually, radio static sounds like bacon frying. Crackle, pop, hiss. This static was smooth. It was a constant low-frequency drone, like a Gregorian chant, but mechanical. Sir, I said, I'm not getting anything. No carrier wave, no civilian broadcasts. Even the AM bands are dead. Keep trying, Miller said. Graves, secure the exit. Sarah, get those lights on. I don't care how you do it. We worked in the flashlight beams for what felt like hours. Strange thing was, none of us felt tired. It had been a long day. It was past midnight. We should be exhausted, but I felt wide awake, alert. My heart was beating a little too fast. Finally, Sarah got the emergency lights to work. Not the main lights, just the dim red tactical lights that ran along the floor. The bunker was bathed in a bloody red glow. It's the wiring, Sarah said, wiping grease from her face. The copper. It feels cold, like absolute zero cold. The resistance is wrong. At least we can see, Miller grunted. Cole, any contact? No, sir. The world is silent. Dr. Thorne? Miller turned to the psychologist. You're quiet. Thorne was sitting at one of the dead monitors. He was staring at his reflection in the black glass. It's interesting, Thorne murmured. What is? Miller asked. The time. Thorne pointed at the wall clock. Suddenly, the red LED numbers on the wall clock flickered back to life. We all gasped. Power was returning. But the numbers didn't say 0030 or 01I. The clock flashed 23:59. And then it stayed there. The colon between the numbers blinked. Blink, blink, blink. But the numbers didn't change. It's stuck, Graves said. Reset it, Miller ordered. Sarah climbed up on a chair. She pressed the manual reset buttons on the side of the clock. Nothing happened. She unplugged the clock from the wall. The cord fell to the floor. The clock stayed on. 23:59. Sarah dropped the plug. She backed away slowly. That's impossible, she whispered. There is no battery in that unit. It runs on AC power. I just unplugged it. Why is it still on? I asked. Dr. Thorne stood up. He walked over to the blast door. Maybe it's not the clock, Thorne said softly. Maybe it's the time itself. Cut the philosophical crap, Doctor, Miller snapped. Graves, open the door. We need to check the external sensors manually. If the comms are down, we need to go to the surface and pop a flare. Yes, sir, Graves said. He walked to the massive steel wheel of the blast door. He grabbed it with both hands and pulled. It didn't move. He grunted and put his back into it. Graves was a strong man. He could bench press 300 pounds. The veins in his neck bulged. It's stuck, sir, he wheezed. It's hydraulics, Sarah said. Without power, you have to use the manual override chain. I am using the override, Graves yelled. It's not the lock. It feels like there is a mountain on the other side. It won't budge a millimeter. I walked over to the periscope station, an old-school optical periscope that looked up to the surface. It didn't need power, just mirrors. Let me check topside, I said. I put my eyes to the viewfinder. I expected to see the night sky, the stars, maybe the lights of Las Vegas in the far distance. I saw nothing, just gray, a flat, static gray. No texture, no depth. Is the lens cap on? Miller asked. No, sir, I said, my stomach twisting into a knot. It looks like television static, solid static. Let me see. Miller shoved me aside. He looked into the periscope. He stood there for a long time. Then he pulled back. He looked at us. His face was pale in the red light. What is it, sir? Sarah asked. Nothing, Miller whispered. There is nothing out there. What do you mean, nothing? I mean, the world is gone. We stood in the red silence. On the wall, the unplugged clock blinked at us. 23:59, 23:59, 23:59. We didn't know it then, but the party was over. and the hangover was going to last forever. How long has it been? A week? A month? A year? It is impossible to tell. The clock on the wall still says 23:59. It mocks us. Every time I look at it, I want to smash it. Graves actually tried. He hit it with the butt of his rifle. The plastic casing cracked, but the red numbers didn't flicker. They just burned brighter. 23:59. We established a routine, or we tried to. Miller ordered us to keep shifts. 4 hours on, 4 hours off. But off meant nothing when you couldn't leave the room, and on meant staring at blank screens. The first thing we noticed was the silence in our stomachs. We had enough MREs, meals ready to eat, to last us for 6 months. Water filters were working on the manual pump. We were prepared for a siege, but nobody was hungry. After what I calculated to be 3 days, Sarah pointed it out. "I haven't eaten," she said. She was sitting on the floor, holding an unopened packet of beef stew. "I haven't eaten in 72 hours, and I don't feel anything." "Adrenaline," Miller dismissed it. "Your body is in shock. You need to force yourself. Eat." We all opened our rations. I tore open a packet of crackers. I put one in my mouth. It didn't taste like cracker. It didn't taste like anything. It felt like I was chewing on dry drywall. Dust. I tried to swallow. My throat refused. It was like my body didn't recognize it as food anymore. Why would it? If time has stopped, metabolism has stopped. "It tastes like ash," Graves spat his food out. Then, the sleep. Or the lack of it. We laid down on the cots in the back room. We closed our eyes. We waited for the unconsciousness to take us. It never came. Have you ever tried to sleep when you are wide awake? You toss, you turn, you count sheep. Now imagine doing that for 100 hours straight. Your brain wants to shut down, but the switch is broken. You just lie there, in the red dark, listening to the breathing of the others, listening to the silence of the earth. I started to look at myself in the mirror of the latrine. I have a heavy beard growth. Usually, I have to shave every morning or I get a 5 o'clock shadow. I rubbed my chin, smooth. It had been days. Not a single hair had grown. I looked at my fingernails, same length. I checked my pulse. That was the moment the true terror set in. I pressed my fingers to my neck. Nothing. I pressed harder. I waited. Thump. Thump. My heart was beating, but it was beating once every minute, slow, sluggish, like a reptile in winter. "We are preserving," Dr. Thorne said. He was standing behind me in the bathroom doorway. The red light made his eyes look black. "What?" I asked. "Preservation," Thorne smiled. A thin, joyless smile. "Like a fly trapped in amber. We are not aging, Marcus. We are immortal." "We are trapped," I said. "This isn't immortality. This is hell." "Is there a difference?" Thorne asked. "Look at Graves." We walked back into the main room. Graves was sitting at the table. He was cleaning his gun. Again. He had been cleaning that gun for days. Strip it down, oil it, reassemble it. Click, clack, snap. "He has done that 400 times, Sarah whispered to me. "I've been counting." "Graves," I said, "take a break." He didn't look up. His eyes were glazed over. "Gotta be ready," Graves mumbled. "Gotta be ready for the breach, when the door opens. Gotta be ready." "The door isn't going to open, Graves," I said. He stopped. He looked at me. "It will," he said. "Can't you hear them knocking?" I froze. "Who?" "The ones outside," Graves whispered. "They want to come in for the party. It's New Year's Eve." I listened. At first, nothing. Then, faint, very faint. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the blast door. 3 feet of steel. It sounded like someone was tapping on it with a ring. Gentle, polite. Tap, tap, tap. "Commander!" I called out. Miller ran over. He put his ear against the cold metal. "Do you hear it, sir?" Miller's face twisted. He heard it. "It's the wind," Miller said. But he didn't believe it. "It's just thermal expansion." "Wind doesn't have a rhythm," Sarah said. Tap, tap, tap. "Open it!" Graves stood up. He racked the slide of his gun. Let them in. I want to see. Stand down, Sergeant, Miller ordered. But Graves wasn't looking at Miller. He was looking at the wheel of the door. I'm so bored, Graves whispered. I just want something to happen. We spent the next night taking turns watching Graves, watching the door. The tapping continued for hours, then it stopped. But the silence that followed was worse, because now we knew, or we thought we knew, that we weren't alone in the desert, or whatever the desert had become. We were statues in a museum, perfect, unchanging, and something was coming to visit the exhibit. The boredom was the killer. Pain you can handle. Fear you can handle. But absolute unending boredom, it eats your mind. It dissolves your sanity like acid. To keep myself from going crazy like Graves, I focused on the radio. My old hand-crank field radio. My only link to anywhere. I spent hours, maybe days, turning the dial, scanning the frequencies. AM, FM, shortwave, military bands. Nothing but that smooth, gray static. Until I found the anomaly. It was on a low frequency, 42.0 mmHz. I was turning the dial slowly, listening to the hiss in my headphones. Suddenly, the hiss changed pitch. It became jagged. Krr, krr, krr. I stopped. I fine-tuned the knob. A voice. It was buried deep in the static. Faint, distorted, but it was a human voice. Commander. I waved my hand. I got something. I got a signal. Miller, Sarah, and Thorne gathered around the desk. Even Graves stopped cleaning his gun. Put it on speaker, Miller ordered. I flipped the switch. The sound filled the bunker. Static. Crackle. Hiss. Repeat. Trapped. Please. Boost the gain, Sarah said. I cranked the volume to the max. I turned the hand generator furiously to give it more power. The voice became clearer. It was a man's voice. He sounded terrified, exhausted. This is Lieutenant Marcus Cole, United States Air Force. If you are listening to this, please, what year is it? The room went ice cold. I stopped cranking. The radio died. Everyone looked at me. I looked at the radio. My hands were shaking. That was you, Sarah whispered. No, I said. I never sent that message. I never said those words. It sounded exactly like you, Miller said. It was your voice, Cole. But I haven't transmitted, I argued. I've only been listening. Maybe it's a recording, Thorne suggested. He looked delighted. Maybe you will say it in the future, and the radio is picking up a temporal echo? Shut up, Thorne, Miller snapped. Cole, get it back. Ask it. Ask him who he is. I started cranking again. My sweat felt cold on my forehead. The signal returned. It has been December 31st for what feels like a lifetime. The voice on the radio, my voice, continued. I grabbed the microphone. I pressed the button. This is Lieutenant Cole, I said. Identify yourself. Over. The voice on the radio didn't stop. It didn't hear me. It just kept talking. We are not the same men who went down here. We are something else now. We are the children of the endless night. It's a loop, Sarah said. It's repeating. Wait, I said. Listen. Underneath the voice, underneath my voice, there was another sound on the broadcast. Background noise, screaming, faint, distant screaming, and the sound of gunfire. That's inside the bunker, Miller said. That acoustic signature, the echo, that's this room. So, Thorne chuckled, we are listening to a broadcast from ourselves, from a future where things have gone poorly. Suddenly, the radio squelched loud, a high-pitched squeal that made us cover our ears. Then a new voice cut through. It wasn't me. It wasn't human. It sounded metallic, grinding. Open the door, Marcus. I dropped the mic. It knows my name. It is time for the party, Marcus. Open the door. Graves stood up. He walked towards the blast door. They are asking nicely, Graves said. His eyes were wide, staring at nothing. It's rude to keep them waiting. Graves, stop! Miller pulled his sidearm. That is an order! Graves didn't stop. He walked past Miller. He walked past the radio. He reached for the manual override chain of the blast door. I said halt! Miller shouted. Graves grabbed the chain. Happy New Year, Graves said. And he pulled. Clang! The mechanism unlocked. We all froze. Before, Graves couldn't budge it. We thought it was jammed by the earth itself. Now, it moved as smooth as oil. The heavy steel wheel began to spin on its own. Screech! Screech! The door was opening, and on the other side, the static was waiting. The blast door groaned open. The sound of metal on metal was deafening, but nobody covered their ears. We were too busy staring at what was on the other side. I expected the desert. I expected the night sky. I expected nuclear fire. I did not expect nothing. There was no outside. Beyond the 3-foot-thick steel frame of the door, there was only a wall of gray. But it wasn't fog. It wasn't smoke. It was static, like a television channel tuned to a dead frequency. Millions of tiny black and white dots dancing, buzzing, vibrating. It was bright, painfully bright. It didn't cast shadows. It erased them. The red light of the bunker stopped abruptly at the threshold, as if the static was eating the photons. What is that? Sarah whispered. Her voice was flat, broken. It's the desert, Miller said, raising his gun. It's a camouflage screen, or a weapon. Graves, get back! Sergeant Graves didn't listen. He stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the chaos. The static was moving, swirling around his boots. It looked like a swarm of digital insects. It's beautiful, Graves said. His voice sounded hollow, like he was speaking into a tin can. It's so loud! He took a step forward. His boot touched the gray wall of noise, and then his foot disappeared. It didn't sink into the ground. It just vanished. The static swallowed it. The pixels swarmed over his leg, replacing the leather and flesh with random noise. Graves! I yelled. Don't! He turned to look at us one last time. He was smiling, but his smile was wrong. His mouth was too wide. His eyes were leaking that gray fluid. The party is out here, Graves said. Everyone is here. The past, the future. It's all mixed up. He stepped out. He didn't walk away. He unraveled. As his body entered the static, he broke apart. First, his uniform dissolved into pixels. Then his skin peeled away in square chunks. Then his muscles. Then his bones. In a second, Sergeant Graves was gone. He was just a part of the noise. The sound from outside got louder, a grinding, metallic hum that vibrated in my teeth. Close it! Miller screamed. Cole, help me! We ran to the manual chain. The static was pouring into the room now. It was heavier than air. It flowed across the floor like dry ice, eating the concrete. Where the static touched the floor ceased to exist. It became a wireframe, a sketch, and then nothing. Miller and I grabbed the chain. We pulled with everything we had. Heave! Miller roared. The heavy door began to creep shut. Screech. Clang. My hands were burning. The air near the door was freezing cold. Absolute zero. It's trying to get in, Sarah screamed from the back of the room. The monitors! Look at the monitors! I glanced back. All the screens in the server bank had turned on. They were all showing the same thing. Graves's face, screaming in silence. His face was distorted, stretched, glitching across the screens. Pull, damn you! Miller yelled. We gave one last yank. The door slammed shut. The wheel spun and locked. Thud. The static was cut off. We collapsed on the floor, gasping for air that wasn't there. The patch of static that had leaked into the room was still there. A pool of gray noise near the door. It was bubbling, boiling. Don't touch it, Thorne said. He walked over to the pool. He crouched down, fascinated. Get back, Doctor, Miller warned, aiming his gun at the floor. That killed Graves. Did it? Thorne asked. Or did it just format him? Thorne picked up a metal pen from the floor. He tossed it into the pool of static. The pen vanished. But then a sound came from the radio. Click, click. And the pen dropped out of the ceiling on the other side of the room. It hit the floor with a clatter. What the hell? I whispered. No space. Thorne muttered. No time, just data. The file got corrupted, so it moved the object to a random location. Doctor, you are speaking nonsense. Miller stood up. We need to secure this room. That door stays sealed until... Until when, Commander? Thorne interrupted. He stood up and looked at Miller. Until the year 2000? It's never going to be 2000. Thorne pointed at the blinking clock. 23:59. Don't you get it? Thorne laughed. A manic, terrified laugh. The Y2K bug. We thought it would crash the banks. We thought it would turn off the power. He pointed at the sealed door. We were wrong. It wasn't a computer bug. It was a reality bug. The universe runs on a clock, Miller. And the clock stopped. The simulation crashed. We are the only thing left in the RAM. We are the backup file. That's crazy, Sarah said, hugging herself. We are real. I am real. Are you? Thorne asked. When was the last time you blinked, Sarah? Sarah froze. She tried to blink. Her eyelids fluttered, but they didn't close. She touched her face. I can't. The rendering is failing, Thorne said. We are glitching, and soon the system will try to delete us to save memory. As if on cue, the lights flickered, and the pool of static on the floor began to rise. It wasn't evaporating, it was taking a shape. The shape rose from the gray puddle like a sculpture made of television snow. First legs, then a torso, then a head. It stood about 6 feet tall. It had 2 arms, 2 legs. It looked human, but it kept shifting. 1 second it looked like Graves. The next second it looked like me. Then it looked like a stranger I had never seen. Its face was a blur of pixels, a smudge where the features should be. Contact! Miller yelled. He opened fire. Bang, bang, bang. The bullets hit the entity, but they didn't bleed. They didn't even impact. When the bullets touched the static, they just stopped. They froze in midair, suspended in the gray noise of the creature's body. Then they simply deleted. Poof. Gone. Bullets are physical, Thorne said, watching with glee. That thing is code. You can't shoot a virus, Commander. The glitch took a step forward. It moved jerkily, like a video buffering, teleporting a few inches with every frame. Step, glitch, step, glitch. It opened its mouth, or the hole in the static where a mouth should be. A sound came out. It wasn't a voice. It was a collage of sounds. A baby crying, a car crash, a politician speaking, a dog barking, a dial-up modem. All played at once. WHYAREYOUSTILHERE. The words were formed by cutting and pasting syllables from different radio broadcasts. Miller dropped his gun. He looked at his hands. My hands, Miller whispered. His fingers were starting to pixelate. The tips were turning into gray squares. It's contagious, Miller screamed. Don't let it touch you! The glitch turned its head towards Sarah. Sarah was backed against the server rack. She was crying, but no tears were coming out, just static leaking from her eyes. ERROR, the glitch screeched. FILENOTFOUND. It reached out a hand towards Sarah. No, I yelled. I grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and threw it at the thing. The extinguisher hit the glitch and vanished, but it distracted it. The pixelated face turned towards me. MARCUES, it said, using my mother's voice. TIMETOWAKEUP. What do you want? I shouted. What are you? Dr. Thorne stepped forward. He walked right up to the creature. It's the garbage collector, Thorne said. It's here to clear the cache. Thorne, get away from it, I yelled. Thorne ignored me. He looked into the swirling noise of the creature's face. I accept, Thorne whispered. I don't want to be stuck in 1999 anymore. Delete me. Thorne touched the creature's chest. Instantly, Thorne turned gray. He didn't scream. He didn't struggle. He just dispersed. One moment he was a man. The next moment he was a cloud of dust and static. The creature absorbed him. It grew larger, brighter. Now there were only 3 of us left. Me, Miller, and Sarah. And the room was shrinking. The walls were starting to vanish. The corners of the room were dissolving into the gray void. The reality of Bunker 42 was being overwritten. "We have to go," Miller said. He sounded calm now, resigned. He was looking at his legs. They were gone below the knee. He was floating, glitching. "Cole, get Sarah. Get to the elevator shaft. Maybe the signal is stronger there." "What about you, sir?" "I can't walk, son." Miller pointed to his missing legs. "I'll hold the line. I'll confuse the logic." Miller grabbed a grenade from his belt. "Go!" I grabbed Sarah's hand. It felt cold and fuzzy, like holding a television screen. We ran towards the back of the bunker, towards the freight elevator. Behind us, I heard the creature screech, and then I heard Miller laugh. "Happy New Year, you ugly bastard!" Boom! The explosion didn't sound like an explosion. It sounded like a system crash, a loud, digital crunch. The blast wave hit us. It wasn't fire. It was a wave of distortion. It threw us into the elevator shaft. We fell, but we didn't fall down, because there was no down anymore. We floated in the dark shaft. Above us, the bunker was deleting itself, chunk by chunk. "Marcus," Sarah whispered. I looked at her. Half of her face was gone, replaced by the gray noise. "I don't want to be deleted," she cried. "I want to see the year 2000. "Hold on, Sarah," I said, hugging her glitching body. "I'll find a way out, I promise." But I knew I was lying. I looked at my watch. The screen was glowing bright red in the dark shaft. 23:59:59. It was the last second, and it was going to last forever. I was floating. There was no up or down. Gravity had been deleted along with the floor. Around me, in the infinite gray void, I could see fragments of Bunker 42 floating like debris in a shipwreck. A chair, a coffee mug, the shattered remains of the blast door. And Sarah. She was holding onto my arm, but her grip was fading. I looked at her. She was almost entirely gray noise now. Only her left eye and her mouth remained human. The rest was a swirling storm of pixels. "Marcus," she whispered. Her voice sounded like it was coming from a bad telephone connection. I can't find the server." "It's okay, Sarah," I lied. Tears floated from my eyes, turning into silver spheres in the void. "We are rebooting. Just hold on." "I'm scared," she said. "Will it hurt, being formatted?" I looked at the gray void. It wasn't empty. It was hungry. It was the future trying to overwrite the past. "No," I said softly. "It won't hurt. It will just be a new page." She squeezed my arm one last time. "Happy New Year, Marcus." Then she scattered. She didn't die. She just burst apart, like a flock of birds or a cloud of digital dust. The gray static absorbed her. She became part of the background noise. I was alone, just me, my floating Casio watch, and the hand crank radio strapped to my chest. I looked at my watch, 23:59:59. It was still stuck, the last second of the millennium. And then I understood. It wasn't the bunker. It wasn't the world. It was us. We were the error. We were the bad sectors on the hard drive. As long as we existed, as long as we held on to our memories of 1999, the year 2000 couldn't load. The universe couldn't render the new century because we were blocking the path. I was the last glitch. And for time to move forward, I had to let go. I grabbed the radio. It felt heavy, real. The last analog object in a digital apocalypse. I started to crank the handle. Whir, whir, whir. The resistance was immense. It felt like I was trying to turn the gears of the universe itself. The little red light on the radio flickered on. I put the headset on. I pulled the microphone close. I knew what I had to say. I had heard it before. In Chapter 4, I was closing the loop. I was sending the warning to myself. "My name is Lieutenant Marcus Cole," I spoke into the void. "United States Air Force, service number 49233 Alpha." My voice echoed in the emptiness. "If you are listening to this, if this signal is actually leaving this concrete box, then I have a question for you. What year is it?" I paused. I looked at the static swirling around me. It was getting closer. It was dissolving my boots, my legs. I didn't feel pain. I just felt light. It doesn't matter, I continued, because for us, for the crew of Bunker 42, it is still December 31st, 1999. I watched my hand holding the microphone. The fingers were turning into squares, into light. I was being deleted. We are not the same men who went down here, I whispered. We are something else now. We are the children of the endless night. The static reached my chest. The radio began to dissolve. I had seconds left. This is the log of Bunker 42. This is the story of the day the future never came. I looked at my watch one last time. The screen was flickering violently. The static covered my eyes. The world went white. Happy New Year, I said. And then, silence. Absolute silence. Then, click. A sound. A mechanical sound. The sound of a second hand moving. Tick. In the white void, my watch beeped. A sharp digital chirp. I couldn't see it. I didn't have eyes anymore. But I heard it, and I knew what the numbers said. 00 Kumbayik. Jan 01 2000. The system had restored. The glitch was gone. The future had arrived. But I was left behind in the static. Forever. They say the Y2K bug was a hoax. They say nothing happened when the clock struck midnight. The planes didn't fall. The banks didn't crash. The world just kept going. Or did it? Think about it. Doesn't the world feel different since 1999? Doesn't time feel faster? Don't the days feel shorter? Doesn't reality feel a little bit rendered? There is a theory called the phantom time hypothesis. It suggests that chunks of history are missing, that we are living in a fabricated timeline. But what if it's not history that is missing? What if we are missing? What if the world did end in 1999? What if the simulation crashed, and what we are living in right now, this year, this life, is just a backup file? A corrupted save state, trying to run on broken hardware. Maybe Lieutenant Marcus Cole didn't just disappear. Maybe he is the reason you are here. Maybe he is the code that holds this fragile reality together. Next time you see a digital clock blink, next time your computer freezes for a second, or next time you walk into a room and forget why you are there, don't ignore it. That's the buffer. That's the static trying to get back in. Check your watch. Are you sure it's the right time? Or has it been 23:59 for 20 years? This is Captain Nightwhisper. If you want to stay in this timeline, hit the like button to refresh the page. To join the crew and survive the next glitch, hit subscribe. Until the next reset, watch the clock, and Happy New Year.